Ready. Kind of ready.
Welcome to the Conference21 Weekly Round Table. I'm your host, Michael Whitehouse. Our two guests today are Nancy Butler and Daniel Greenwolf. In our usual format, we're going to go around, we're going to do quick introductions, and then we're each of our speakers has a topic that they'll be kind of leading a discussion on. Nancy even has a presentation with some really awesome slides, including there's a picture of a cheetah. I won't spoil what the cheetah comes into, but there's a photograph of Nancy with a cheetah, live actual cheetah. So stick around for that. That will be awesome. So the Conference 21, in case you're like, what's this Conference 21 thing they're talking about, is coming up. The next one is in May. It is May 21st, 21st to 23rd, and tickets are available. So be sure to do that. And because we have our next networking event coming up on Friday, the 19th at noon. Pretty sure it's noon Eastern time. Eastern Daylight Time. I need to replace all my ESTs with EDTs for the next 6 months. So it'll be Eastern Daylight Time. But tickets and other information available at conference21.com. Once you have your ticket for the May event, you can then go to all the networking events and see all these great people. And one more plug, and then we'll get to our introductions, is that I do a daily motivational podcast called the Morning Motivation Podcast and motivation.guyknowsaguy.com. And you will get a burst of information. No, inspiration. There's no information. A burst of inspiration right into your mailbox every single morning as you wake up. And I've now gotten to the point where I can't miss a day because I'll get emails, people saying, I need this to wake up. I can't start my day without the podcast. So I'm a victim of my own success and I love it. So you can get that at motivation.guyknowsaguy.com. And let's go around the room, do some introductions. So Nancy, briefly tell the fine folks at home about yourself and who you are.
Okay, I'm Nancy Butler from Waterford, Connecticut. My business is, above all else, success in life and business. I am a 40-year, very successful entrepreneur. I help businesses improve their client service while improving their bottom line at the same time. And I help individuals have a happier, more successful life.
Awesome. And that's why we're so excited to have you here, because you know lots of stuff. And
I know lots of stuff.
And Daniel, who are you?
Yes. And my name is Daniel Greenwolf. I'm a professional magician and a Renaissance Fair owner. I own the Midsummer Fantasy Renaissance Fair of Ansonia, Connecticut. I myself grew up in Waterbury. I now live in Orange, and I've bounced around the Nutmeg State for my entire life. But I've been performing professionally for 25 years, and I run two businesses. My own business is Celtic Magic, and of course the Renaissance Fair. And I feel unprepared, for I do not have a picture of myself with a cheetah. And frankly, I feel I bow to your greatness, Nancy.
Although I do feel like Daniel there's a number of death-defying photos of you as well, since that's kind of your job.
That's true. I do a lot of very dumb things that are ill-advised in not just the business space, but any space. I don't recommend it for recreation. I don't recommend it for anything, but I do it because I'm a very strange human.
Yeah. What did you say? Kids don't try this at home, stay in school, get a real job.
Exactly. Kids don't try this at home. Try it at school. It's funnier. But now everybody's like homeschooled still. Like that joke is just the same thing now. It's just like, don't try it at home. I guess not at school. Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, I believe I personally have tried to remove your head with ropes twice. So
you have, and I'm so pleased you have. No one I'd rather have trying to kill me.
So the first topic that we have to be talking about is Daniel, because Daniel actually has to leave early because you have an actual live show coming up. You said.
It's crazy. So I'm taking part of my partner Bella has been vaccinated. She's a nurse, and so she was vaccinated already. Myself, I unfortunately, my family, the rest of our family caught the horrendous virus there, and it swept through our household about a month ago. So I'm taking advantage of my 2 months of immunity to perform live, and I'll be at Comics and Mohegan Sun at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, EST, daylight.
Still standard, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
on the
next week.
New York border. So yeah, so I'll be at Mohegan Sun Casino at 5 p.m. today.
Wow. So anyway, the topic that you want to talk about was being unique, which I know you probably did a lot of studying for that because it's a little bit outside your wheelhouse.
Yeah, no, so I had to really talk about. I really went real method actor and tried to look into it. But no, it's interesting. The concept of being unique in the business space. I am in a weird profession. Let's start there. I'm a magician. Already, people look at me and they go, "You didn't finish college," and they're accurate. But there's a lot of magicians who have, and I've gotten to learn from them a lot of the better points of it. And the problem with magic is the problem that there is in any field of business is that there are a lot of people who are all trying to get a bite at the same apple. Now, there are a lot of apples for all of us to go around, right? But how do you get people to notice who you are and what you do? And Simon Sinek, who I talk about, at great length. I saw his lecture about the Golden Circle, about start with why, before the book had even come out. I'd seen it, many, many moons ago. And the whole concept was the idea of starting with why you do what you do. And really digging into why you do what you do, and then building who you are from there. Now, as a magician, it's easier because you can't say, well, I want to astonish people. That's what everybody wants to do. Get more why, get deeper. And I realized that part of my why was connecting the stories of my past, my heritage. By the way, I'm Irish. I don't know if y'all could tell that about me. Someone was thinking Puerto Rican out there, and that also could be correct, but I am Irish. So, but being Irish, I learned the stories and tales of my ancestors, and for all the history, that's some of it's beautiful and heroic, some of it's very dark and a little shameful. But the history of my people's past coming over to America was so fascinating to me that was a human story that I wanted to tell. And magic is a human story, the desire to believe in the impossible. And so that's the story I wanted to tell. And I realized that you connect with people by telling the story in this human way, as opposed to me picking up a deck of cards and saying, "What's your card? Is that your card? Ta-da." Like, it doesn't do anything for folks. For me, there's some other magicians who just do that, and they're great. But then there's people who break the mold. People like Derek Delgadio, he had a show on Hulu called In and of Itself. And it was a run on Broadway and a run on the West Coast, and it was hugely popular. And the reason why is because describing it like a magic show does it an injustice almost. And that's how you brand yourself. And he told his own story. And so coming into being unique in the business space, how do you do this if you're a real estate agent? How do you do this if you're, if you're somebody who reorganizes businesses? And because what you're doing is the same thing as somebody else is going to offer, is what somebody else is going to offer. That's the what you do, right? But I think if you can go to that place of the why you do something and you find where that's unique, then you can start to create a brand and a product that's not only useful for folks and helpful, but also is different than all the other people out there. So I don't know. I'm curious as to, because obviously, Nancy's largely successful in her field. Michael, you're obviously successful as the guy who knows. Where do you folks come in? Where did you bring in your why? And how do you feel like that's affected your business?
I can speak to that pretty simply because my background is so unique. Which we didn't go into today, but I have a very unique background that made me make myself extremely successful in business. I decided that I didn't want to die with all that knowledge, that I wanted to find a way to pass it on before I go so that other people could be successful too. And it's not that you hear lots of times that you have to make the mistakes yourself in order to really get it. But sometimes if you can hear the stories of exactly what someone did and how they did it, mistakes that they made, you don't have to repeat those same mistakes and you can be successful, more successful from the start. So my why would be helping others here and even across the world, because I do international as well, a lot of international, have better lives and just have better businesses and be happier and be more successful. That would be my why.
Yeah. On the unique side for me, it's realizing that nobody else does exactly what you do, especially in the coaching space. I could meet 100 coaches and still probably not meet one who does what I do for whom I do it for. And I actually had thought about trying to put together a networking group of coaches, because in BNI, Business Network International, everyone has an exclusive seat and there's no duplicates. And to my mind, I'd love to be in a BNI chapter with 20 coaches, because we all work with different people. Some work with high end, like and Angelus, who was on last week. He's a coach, but he works more with entrepreneurs, or not entrepreneurs, with bit larger businesses, figuring out mindset issues with teams and whatnot. Christine Rose, she's also a coach, also a Conference21 speaker, but she works with kind of a higher end, higher achieving level of business person or entrepreneur, whereas I work with generally, compared to them, lower income people, people whose incomes are 5 or sometimes 4 figures. And they're kind of looking to get into business, or they're getting started. They're finding that next path. And oftentimes, sometimes I'll meet a coach and I'll say, either of us could work with the same person. But often we could pick a given person and definitely pick, hey, that one's definitely yours. I don't want that one. Okay, that one's definitely mine. You don't want that one, because it's not your fit. And realizing, and it's trickier there, the more commoditized you are. You sell life insurance, and you're selling for the same company that the others do, or car. When I sold cars, I would literally be selling sometimes the same VIN number vehicle, like the same set of 4 wheels. 2 different salespeople were competing to sell the same car because they swap it around. So then it really is a matter of who the human is, but the product's the same. But so often our product is different than we think, because there's subtle differences. Daniel, if you put you as a magician next to 3 other magicians, then no one's going to be like, wait, which one's Daniel? Which one's the Celtic one? I can't tell. Is it the guy in the black top hat? Is that him?
Yeah. And I think that's so important too. Like that's, it does partially come to branding, right? I mean, it does kind of go into it, because if you just want to be another face smiling on a business card, then you're going to get lost in the shuffle. But if you have something that's a little bit different about you, and I know that, you don't have to go to the extreme I do. I wear, and if anyone who goes to see my site, or they see what I do, they'll see that I've got I have a green triangle on my face, and I've got long red hair, and I wear a kilt. I decided to go way off on the rails as far as taking a branding that was unique to me. There is only 2 other people in the world that I am aware of who do what I do in the way that, in even close to the way that I do it, really. And one of them is a lovely woman named Debbie O'Carroll, who tells beautiful, wonderful stories, who I love. There's me. In cartoon form, by the way. Yep. That was done by Leslie Castilli. And she's an amazing artist. And the logo, in fact, was done by Jerry Marsoki, another amazing artist as well. But that's the thing, too, is like, I saw all of this and I said, I want to create an image that people are going to remember after it's done. I want to create a show that people will remember. Maybe they won't remember the tricks that I do. Maybe they won't remember every piece of magic that I do in the show, but they are going to remember it's like, there's an old saying, I feel terrible. I can't remember the person who quoted it, but it's not about what you did. It's how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that is such a strong point, whether you're performing a piece of art or whether you are selling them life insurance, because you're going to sell, you said it yourself, they're going to sell them the same policy. But if you can make them feel good about that policy, honestly good, and show them the things maybe somebody else doesn't know. Maybe you have a particular way of looking at this life insurance policy that the other people don't have. And you can work with those people. Maybe they have something that you don't have. You can work together. You can share ideas and everything like that. But at the end of the day, the person who had that feeling, that energy, and that life story, that's where they become somebody that's where you become a step above the rest of the crowd. And it's not that you're stepping on anybody. It's just that by the nature of what you do, and that's the other thing too, is I never say, well, I'm not I'm not this guy here. I'm not boring like this guy. I'm not dumb like this. Well, I'm a little dumb like this guy, but I'm not dumb like this guy. I'm Daniel Greenwolf. No, I just show them what I do, and they see the differences. They'll feel those differences in my work. And that's the same thing no matter what business you're in, right? Because if you care about what you're doing and you have that background that's so different, then you are going to be a step above everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just
and make you stand out.
And make you stand out. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I just got a great piece of advice. So, Jonathan Milligan, who I know from out west, the western part of the country. So I took advantage of everything going virtual to visit BNI groups all over the country. And Jonathan's a tremendous networker who I've learned a lot from. And one thing he was suggesting in a one-to-one I was doing with him today actually was to meet with your competition or your seeming competition and ask them where they get their referrals from. Because chances are the market's big enough that you're not necessarily all eating out of the same trough. And so, for me to talk to other coaches and say, who refers you business? Because sometimes you won't, there's someone that you'll never think of that they get half their business from. And when you talk to them and say, where are you getting your referrals from? Referrals are the most excludable type of business. So you can't steal someone else's referrals. You can, if you learn their marketing strategy, you can adopt their marketing strategy, but you can't steal the referral sources because those are relationships. I mean, you can if you really set your mind to it, but
if you're a really terrible person, you can. But that takes effort.
Yeah. Yep.
But I agree, and that's the thing too, is that it's not about, and I say a step above everybody else, but it's not about competition. You're right. You can share, like I said, you can share ideas, but by showing your difference, by showing where your weird is, you're going to connect with other people who feel comfortable being weird too. And that's the other part of it, is that just the backstory. I'm queer. I'm polyamorous. I'm a second generation Wiccan, which is a religion. If you've never heard of it, then you don't know it. If you do, then you know. If you know, and so I've got a lot of weird traits about me that make some people want to do business with me because they feel comfortable with me. Where they might not feel comfortable with somebody else, and that's perfectly up to them. That's okay for them, and that's as far as doing business and doing a show or working a Ren fair or something like that. There are acts who will work with me who don't necessarily like working with a lot of other Renaissance fairs because of the energy that we give off in our fair and the safe space that we give in our fair. Or they'll try things they wouldn't try at other fairs because we have a little bit of that experimental aspect to us, a little bit of that edge of experimentation, because we're not a strict Renaissance fair. We're a fantasy Renaissance fair. So that's all stuff that I don't look at and say, look, we're better than these guys. I just say, hey, we're different. And maybe we're your cup of tea. And
that's really an important point, is to never put any other business down, but just to be able to show where your differences are without putting them down, because you all have your own unique abilities. You all have what you're best at, and you're just best at different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And to be best at what you're good at, because earlier in my business, I would try to blend in, be like, okay, what do they want me to be? They want me to be this? All right, now we put the mask on. And I always got a lot of sort of negative vibes, and I thought it's because I wasn't blending well enough. I'm like, oh, I need to fake it better. But I didn't realize until I got sick. I'm like, what, forget it. I'm just going to be me. And if they don't like it, screw them.
Exactly.
And suddenly people liked me more because they're like, oh, you're you. I like you. I don't like that guy you pretend to be. That people get that like weird vibe. Like, I don't know what's wrong, but it's
better you. Yeah, you could be a better you than anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people feel insincerity, even if they don't know what it is. It's the difference between art and pornography. You know it and you see it, right? And that's what the sincerity thing. And I see a lot of people who are speakers, who are, they come off on stage and they've got this fake happy energy, and you're like, you are crying inside. And you can feel it when they step on that stage. And to be able to get past that, or maybe you have those days. Maybe you come out and you say, it's a tough day, It's so it's so reassuring when the sincerity breaks through. And there's a magician who his name's Max Maven, who is one of the premier mentalists and magicians in the world. And mentalism is all mind-based magic and stuff like that. He's been on television specials. He's written dozens of effects and books and lectures, and he is kind of one of the maybe the top 5 minds in magic in the whole world. And he looks a very particular way. If you look at him, he's got a very deep widow's peak, and he's got a very historically a Ming the Merciless kind of a look to him. He's kind of fashioned off of that Flash Gordon kind of vibe, and like the very deep eyebrows and the beard, and he plays into that. And he says, "I'll never know the work. I know the work that I've gotten because I look the way I do, and I'll never know the work I haven't gotten. I know I've lost work, but I'll never know it because they didn't call me anyway. They didn't waste my time." And that's so beautiful. If you can be a beacon for your weird and get people to come to you, and they're quality people that matter, that's Max. There's Max right there.
Right.
And if you just saw the rest of it,
I can share my screen.
What?
Yeah, and it's got me thinking about sharing screen. I'm like, oh, I can abuse this power. All right.
Oh yeah. But that's what it is. He'll never know the work you didn't get. And because if you can just be that beacon of weird, that beacon of different, that beacon of interesting, people will come to you, and they'll be the clients and the employees and the contracts that you want to work with. Right. I love that.
People and corporations even don't want the same old.
No.
They want you to bring something new and a different energy and different information and a different way of doing things. They get bored of the same old. So yeah.
And even some of the mainstream companies, if you look at Wendy's and Taco Bell, Wendy's Twitter feed is a great example, where it actually it edges into edgier stuff than you expect a mainstream fast food restaurant. And if you've never looked at, I'm not sure if it's still there, but Taco Bell's, if you look at the descriptions of the items in their menu, well, you expect like taco contains meat, but like some of these, and especially the more obscure ones that they sort of bury on there, that have these like weird backstories that are made up, like the chalupa was invented by Guadalupe Chalupa back in 1647. Just these ridiculous stories on a website that nobody goes to, because who would go to the Taco Bell website to look for descriptions of their food? But if you go there, there's this like hidden trove of geekiness, which those who find it, they develop an affection for the brand. They're like, wow, that's not McDonald's. Yeah. that's something. I've been lucky enough to be hired by WB Mason, Bank of America, the United States Coast Guard. Like, these are not groups that should be in my resume, but they are, because they want somebody they're like, you know what? We've seen the guy in the suit jacket. We want to see what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
And that matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, as W. Mason, they're like, who? What? Daniel Greenwolf. Yep.
They wanted me to eat fire. A paper company wanted me to eat fire. I don't know, but yeah, it's neither here nor there.
Well, yeah, they don't want you to breathe fire, right? They just wanted you to eat it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they just put it out. They went, oh, maybe it was a fire extinguisher. I didn't think about that until now. Boy, that's gonna bug me.
Yeah, that's what. They all got excited watching you make fire go away. They're like, yeah,
that's right. That's what it was. That's all it
was. He does what we need. So, so it is coming to 2:30. So I believe that you need to head off to your live show.
I do,
with your superpowers.
Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut. I think Uncasville. But thank you so much for having me on, Michael. Nancy, a pleasure. And I look forward to catching the view later and finding out about that frickin' cheetah. I really want to know why. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, I think so. So I've seen the slideshow. I haven't seen her talking about it, but I think you'll resonate with the story. So
I'm excited.
So definitely make sure to catch that in the replay.
I like doing unique out of the box things, so we have something in common.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Much love to you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. And so Nancy will be talking about taking a calculated risk for a better future, personal and business.
Yes, I will. And
so
let me pull up.
Slideshow you'll be bringing up there. And in the meantime, while you figure that out, I'll distract the audience. They don't notice you're working on something, and remind them that they can find my daily motivation podcast at motivation.guywhoknowsaguy.com. If they haven't signed up for it, they should. You should. You listening right there. You, I'm pointing at, should go to motivation.guywhoknowsaguy.com. Every morning in your email, you will get my energy combined with even better music, which will give you a burst of energy. So Nancy, I see you have the, I think you will start the presentation first and then share the screen. So you're sharing the presentation window. Otherwise, I think you'll be sharing the PowerPoint window.
Okay, so what are you saying?
Start the presentation first and then share the presentation window. And that will, that'll give you a full screen thing instead of getting that PowerPoint thing on the side. Yep, and I need to share it, and then I'll see it in the little window here, and I'll bring it forth.
Say that again. What do you want me to do?
You have to share it. I can't see it yet.
I had it shared before.
You shared the PowerPoint, right. The control screen that shows all the little boxes on the side, and you want to share the one that's full screen, everything. Gotcha. Yep. And while she's doing that, I cannot yet. You can get, if you have not gotten your tickets yet, you can go to conference21.com and join us May 21st, 23rd, which is actually crawling along below us. You can see that there. You can also apply to be a speaker at conference21.com if you've got something to share that you think people want to learn about. So
every time I make it full screen.
So if you make it full screen and then hit Alt-Tab to switch back to your browser, that will get you to the.
That's where my problem is. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably because you're closing the full screen to get back to the browser, and then it's not there anymore because you closed the full screen. That's my suspicion. This is the excitement of live television, folks. Never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We just never know.
Did that work?
No.
Okay. I don't think that's going to. So why don't we do this? I will start talking. I will bring up the slides, then I'll put them away, then I'll start talking, and we'll go back and forth.
Yep. Well, it's not sharing it to the screen, though.
I'm not sharing anything now?
Not sharing anything now, no.
Right. Okay. All right. So let me just get started then, and then I'll bring the screen up, if that works. All right. So what we're going to talk, what I want to, okay?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. What I wanted to talk about was taking calculated risk. As business owners, we tend to be less risk adverse than others are anyway, but sometimes and often, I see it all the time, we get used to doing business a certain way, and stepping out of that becomes a real problem. So what I want us to talk about is how you view risk in your business, how you embrace it, and not just go along with it when it's forced on you, like the pandemic forcing us to do more of this and less in person. That was forced on you. But would you have taken that on yourself and really embraced it if this had not happened? And what did you get out of it because it was forced on you? So the point with this is when you're in business, you need to always be seeking out and embracing change, always looking for the next best way to make your business that much better. Because if you don't, your competition will, you'll be left in the dark, and you could even be out of business at some point. So it also relates to how you look at risk in your personal self, with your family, with your friends, and what you do on your own. And if you're very risk adverse there, it may be a reason why you're risk adverse at business, or you may find they're two totally different things. And if they are, and you're more of a risk taker when it comes to your personal life and less of a risk taker when it comes to your business, then you've got to learn how to meld those so that you can take advantage of all the opportunities that are out there that you may very well be missing. And this technology has been a little bit challenging, but we'll make it work.
Nope. Right, that's not what I'm doing. So do you have yours? Oh, I see yours there. There we go. There it is.
Got it? Okay.
Success.
So you can
Yes.
see the slides. You can see the slides, but you can't see me, right?
No, I can see you too. You just see the little sides.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so everyone just
All
ignore
right,
these
then
visible things on the side here. And yeah, everyone just ignore,
All right.
where are they? They're there. Everyone just ignore these things right here. Just look at the big picture right there. Yeah, and we'll be good. Carry on.
All I see is the big picture, so we're good. All right.
Yep.
So as I said, you really need to seek out and embrace change. And if you don't, your competition will, and you can be left behind. And you really don't want that. Taking calculated risk can bring a level of success you might not otherwise be able to achieve. Here's one example. And let me talk about some of the things you can do. When do you hire your first staff person if you're a small business? And if you're a medium or a larger business, or you already have a staff person, when do you hire the next one and the next one and the next one? Most people say they wait till they feel they can afford it before they hire a staff person. So then what happens is, if you're the sole proprietor and you have no staff people, you end up doing everything, which makes no sense, because then you're doing the things that a $20 or $30 an hour person could do, when you should be spending your time doing a $200 or a $300 an hour task. So that part of it doesn't make sense. If you do have staff and you're not hiring another person when you should be, then you're putting too much pressure on the people you already have, and you could end up losing them because it's just too much for them. They're not the business owner. They're not going to take that kind of pressure the same way you would as the business owner yourself. So, I mean, that's just one example, but there's a lot of things you need to do. So think about what you can even outsource. And when I say outsource, maybe you don't want to hire a full-time person or even a part-time person in your business, but one of the things you could do is outsource some of the work that needs to get done. Have a bookkeeper that's not physically in your office. Hire a part-time bookkeeper that will do it at their facility, just for the hours that you need, and you have an agreement for how many hours and what it'll cost. Same thing with developing your website or monitoring your social media. All of those types of things and a lot more you could be doing, and maybe you're not. Let me give you a couple of examples of some businesses that I coached, or as a speaker, some of the things I learned of things businesses were doing that were out of the box, that were risky, but really brought them great success. There was a realtor, and if you think about it, there's a lot of realtors today. So how do they make themselves stand out among all the other realtors? Well, what this realtor did was he went out and bought a moving truck, a small moving truck, secondhand moving truck. Put all his logo and business information on the side. And there were all kinds of ads in the paper that if you buy or sell a house from them, you get the use of their truck for 3 days, 4 days, free of charge, as part of their service that they provide to their clients. Who does that? I mean, to me, that was just amazing. And moving is the one thing people hate the most in this world. So if you can make it easier on them and it's in your realm of your work, that sounds fabulous to me. So think about what you can do above and beyond. When I had my practice, and I think I mentioned this on other webinars that I have done in the past, we went above and beyond, especially for our best clients, hiring a limo to take them to our events, for example. During the holidays, sending a floral centerpiece, like $150, $200 floral centerpiece to their home so it could be on their dinner tables during the holidays. Anything you can do to step up, step out, take the risk, it can be really well worth it. You need to have a plan. You need to know what risks you're going to take. You need to have them in writing, understand what the cost is, understand what the risk is, and have a plan. Don't just jump in with both feet and hope it works out. And you need to have a way to monitor it to know if it works or not. One of the ways I knew if the florist or the floral arrangement worked was once a year or once every other year, we sent out a survey to our best clients with a list of things we were thinking of doing and asking them which they would most prefer. And the centerpiece for their holiday table was one of the things they chose. So I know that we're giving them what they want. So think about that. And sending surveys out today are so easy. And if you have an older client base, which is what I had, then technology doesn't serve as well. And when they came into the office, we had them set an appointment where they came in 15 minutes early. We gave them a clipboard and they just checked it off on the clipboard and checked it out before they came and saw me. So there's ways to make these things work. You just have to step out of your comfort zone, think about what you can do that's above and beyond that nobody else is doing, and make it work. Let's talk a little more now about your personal calculated risk. What would you like to try that you've never done before? I've always said, I'll try almost anything. There is an almost, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. But I'll try almost anything. And if I absolutely hate it, so what? I won't do it anymore. But I just might like it. And even if I'm scared to death of it, the invigoration that it gives you and the feeling of accomplishment that it gives you often is well worth it. So think about what you've never done before that you'd like to try. Do you have a bucket list? I started checking off all the items on my bucket list and I was almost at the end. And then I started thinking, oh my God, what do I do now? Am I supposed to die when my bucket list is done? So I started adding more things to my bucket list. And believe it or not, one of the things I added is before I die, I will learn how to fly a plane. Let me show you some of the out of the box calculated, and I'll explain why each one is calculated risks I have actually taken. So here is me, this is me, I should say, on a zip line. This is 350 feet off the ground. It's a 1 mile zip line. I had never done a zip line before. This is in my 60s, so I wasn't a kid. And people say, weren't you scared to death? And the only time I think I was fearful was before they let me go. There were other people that were going in front of me. So they put you in this seat and you hang there.
It's not showing this picture yet.
You're not seeing it? I see it.
Yeah.
What do you see?
I'm seeing your PowerPoint window.
What do you see?
I'm just seeing your PowerPoint window.
I don't understand.
So I'm not seeing the actual presentation. I'm seeing the whole presentation, not the individual window.
You're not seeing each slide. You're seeing the entire thing.
The whole thing. Yeah.
I don't know why that's not working. I'm gonna try this again.
I don't either. And as a backup, I do have a copy of it, so I'll see if I can share the picture as well.
What do you see now?
One of us will get it up there.
What do you see now?
I see the power. I see your PowerPoint. The whole presentation.
Like the first slide is what you see.
Yeah, just the first slide.
You don't see me moving slides now?
Nope.
Okay, I don't know how to. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That's a problem.
I have the slowest computer in the world, but someday, oh, there it is. It's moving now.
It's moving
someday
now.
My computer will load this page,
Okay.
and I can show it if. But I see the Seek Out and Embrace Change. Is the page I'm looking at.
Let's see if I can move the slides with it that way. No, I can't. Hold on, might be another way to do this. How about that? Can you see them changing?
Yeah. There we go.
Perfect.
I see it. Zip line.
All right. So there's the zip
we're good.
line.
We're back.
Okay. And I think I just lost mine. All right. So there's the zip line, 350 feet off the ground, 1 mile long. And the only fearful part for me was they let one person down, and then when they get to a certain point, then they let you down. Well, to not waste time because there's so many people waiting, they have you hang at the top for about 20 minutes, just in midair, hanging there until it's your turn where they can push you off. So the hanging there part was a little scary. But once they pushed me off, I loved it. It was absolutely amazing. It was beautiful. I wanted to bring a camera up with me and take pictures, but then they said that they were taking pictures, and they did. They had cameras all the way down. So I have pictures of me at all different spots. And had I had a camera with me, there would have been pictures of me taking pictures. So I didn't do that. But scared to death at first, well worth it, very invigorating. Would I do it again? The next time I would do this, I normally will never do the same thing twice. The only way I would do this again is if I was, I don't know, let's say in Africa, doing it over all the wild animals, or some kind of really amazing place to be doing it that was different. Here's another thing. You can actually do this. There's a thing called Cloud9 Living. And if you go to Cloud9 Living on the internet, they specialize in special kind of out-of-the-box experiences. And that's where I got this one from. So my husband's not as adventurous as I am, but he knows that this is the way I like to do things. So I told him, I said, guess what? It's time again. And he said, oh no, now what? I said, well, you have a choice. We're going to either learn how to fly a helicopter, we're going to learn how to fly a plane, or we're going to drive Richard Petty race cars at an actual real NASCAR track. I said, you've got a choice. He said, I'll do the NASCAR. So that's what we ended up doing. And that's me in the NASCAR. And I didn't have anybody in it with me. I was actually on the track driving a real race car at the speeds, not quite the speed that they do, but not that far off.
Wow.
South Africa, for this elephant, you have to actually put your hand inside his mouth and put the food on the back of his tongue in order for him to eat it. So you can see my hand is up inside his mouth. That's what you do. And I guess I'm a little trusting when someone told me that that's what you do and it's okay. I did it. Very, very interesting and fun to do. Would I do it again? I don't need to do it again. I already did it once. And that's my daughter with me, by the way. She and I both went on an African safari, which was an amazing experience on her 40th birthday. What do you think that memory is for her for the rest of her life? What kind of memories are you making with your family, even if it's not just for yourself, but for your family? I mean, that's something she's going to carry with her forever. And my slides aren't working the way I wanted them to, but this is okay. All right. When we were in South Africa, they said, and we were on our safari, they said the cheetah had just finished eating, and if I wanted to get out and lay down and pet him, I could. Remember, I'm a trusting soul. So I did get out. I did lay down and pet the cheetah. My daughter took a picture of it, and that's what this is. This is a full-grown live cheetah. And I don't know if you can tell, but in the background, like where the trees are on the right, there's other cheetahs running around back there. So people may ask, you said calculated risk. Where's the calculated risk in this? The calculated risk is, number one, he just ate. Number two, there was a person standing there, you can't see them, with a gun ready to shoot if anything were to happen. So I felt protected, I felt okay. When my daughter laid down with him, he actually rolled over, and I have a picture of him licking her arm. What kind of experience is that for her? She was so excited. She was less scared than I was. I mean, she was just so excited. Memories are so important. And the memories you make with your audience as a speaker, the memories you make with your family, the way you stand out as different. I think I stand out as a little bit different with these kinds of things. And it can just empower you, get you excited, and make you want to try things. Before we got on the plane to go to South Africa, my daughter said there's something on her bucket list that she always wanted to do, and would I do it with her? And I said, you know me, I'll do just about anything. She said she wanted to go on a shark cage dive where they filmed Shark Week television show. So after we finished the safari, we flew to Cape Town, South Africa, where they film Shark Week. And that's me in the shark cage. I had an underwater camera, and that's a picture of the shark as I was being lowered into the water. Was I afraid? Nah, there's a cage around. If you can tell, the cage isn't that tall. And so what they do is they lower you down so you're completely submerged. You are completely submerged, but the part of the cage is still sticking above the water. So anytime you feel like you can't breathe or you're panicking, you just let go and the water will make you float to the top and you can breathe out, and they can pull you out of that cage anytime that you need to. I loved it. In order to attract the sharks, believe it or not, they put food on the end of a rope and trail it in the water around your cage to bring the sharks to you. And that's how I got that one. Just amazing. And again, I did it with my daughter. Something we'll remember forever. It's funny with the cheetah one, when my husband would have freaked out if he knew I was doing this stuff. But when I got home and I told him what I had done and I showed him the cheetah, he said, what if the cheetah wanted dessert? He said, you didn't figure that part out, did you? Because I knew I said he had just eaten. You can only calculate so much. Again, just adventures. I actually went to Israel with a group of people. I decided I want to go. 5 days later, I met a group of people that I'd never met before, and I was on a plane going to Israel. After the trip was over and they left, I stayed there for 5 days on my own and lived with an Israeli family so I could learn the culture. So this is me on a camel in the middle of Israel. And again, it's all about stepping out of your comfort zone, making the experience happen. Will I ever go back and do another African safari? Probably not. I've done one in my life, and there's a lot of other things I've never done yet that I want to try. Will I go back to Israel? Probably not. Will I do a Richard Petty race car again? Probably not. There's so many more things that I haven't done, like learning how to fly a plane, that I would like to try, and I don't need to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. This is a track. When I say it's a track, it's not really even a track. Most of it, as you can see to the left of me, are ropes that you walk on. And the calculated risk, this is the hanging from the ceiling of a 3-story building. And the calculated part is, you can see I have a harness on me. If I were to slip up, I'd be dangling from the ceiling, but I wouldn't be falling to my death. So, and you get to choose how high you go, because the blue thing that you see is like a ramp that takes you higher and higher and higher. And so you can stay on any level that you want. I think this was in Florida. And again, try it. It's exciting. Find what excites you. It's up to you to make your life what you want it to be. And it's the same thing. It's up to you to make your business what you want it to be. Only you are the one that can control that. Last but not least, in the water with a beluga whale. This is very easy to do, actually. And even I've swam with dolphins. I have a picture of me kissing a dolphin in the water, holding on to his top fin and having him pull me all around the water. I mean, it's just fun. This is easy. This was actually at Mystic Aquarium in Connecticut. And they have a program where you can go, and I took my granddaughter and she and I did this. What experience is that? And believe it or not, with beluga whales, what you do is you pet their tongues. You don't pet their bodies, you pet their tongues. And so we have all kinds of pictures of like petting the beluga whale's tongues. So think about it. And Michael, I'd like to hear from you. What out of the box things have you either tried or want to try?
So it's not out of the box, but I want to get back to learning to fly a plane because I took 4 or 5 lessons. Then my financial situation changed and I moved and whatnot. But I live in Groton, so the planes fly over my house all the time.
Yes.
And it's fantastic because the airport's like a mile and a half over there. So let's see, out of the box things. Well, I was heavily involved in running fandom conventions for a long time, which I guess is not a thing most people do. So like Comic-Cons and anime conventions, sci-fi conventions, those sorts of things. I don't
physically anything or travels or anything like that.
So I don't often think about that stuff because it hasn't been an option for most of my life. I haven't had the wherewithal to travel or go on adventures that cost bucks because I've gotten used to not having money.
Well, that's fine. And I know you have a young daughter, so I also think about the kinds of experiences you could have with her.
Yeah.
I had my grandchildren twice a week and 4 weeks in the summer for 20 years. So I took them on a lot of experiences, and it doesn't have to cost a lot. You're probably familiar with the Big E.
Yes.
You know, the Eastern States Exposition in New England, the Big E, it's around September every year. Well, they had an elephant and a camel there, and I have a picture of me and the grandkids when they're like 3 years old and 5 years old riding on an elephant. So, I mean, you can do things like that. Yeah. You don't have to have a lot of money.
Well, and along those lines, because I do know some people, so you might say I know a guy, so to speak.
I would hope.
And I was thinking that, as when my daughter was old enough to appreciate it, I wanted to kind of, leverage some of those connections. For example, I'm in a Toastmasters club with 2 of the scientists from this aquarium.
Cool.
So, I imagine that I might be able to introduce her to them and they could show her some cool stuff. I know different people in different places. And so I was going to kind of put that to work. But before, when she was 4 or 5, she's not really old enough to appreciate a lot of these experiences. And so I don't necessarily want to jump the gun and do that when she's not old enough to appreciate it.
Or remember
it. Yeah, or remember it. And 6 is where she's starting to get old enough to really be able to start doing that. And she turned 6 last July. So it kind of put a damper on some of the things we wanted to do. But as we're able to get out more, my plan is sort of leverage that network and think about who I know in places that are interesting. Because also for example, Renaissance fairs. In the Renaissance fair world, when you come in as a member of the public, you have one experience. When you come in knowing the people who run it and work there, you have a different experience. And the great thing is, it's not like they're exclusionary. If you come in and you're like, I want to volunteer, I want to get to know you guys, they're totally saying, come on in. But,
of course.
But when I've worked there, I can see, when the people are coming in, they're wearing jeans and t-shirts and they're kind of like, oh, look at the freaks. Like, that's cool. They have fun. Their money is green and they're happy to take it. But they don't get the same experience as when I bring her to a fair and people are like, oh, is that your daughter? Oh, Michael, how you doing? And so kind of leveraging those connections to give her that sense of being part of something and getting out there. Because, hopefully in the future, I will be in a position to do things like take flying lessons again and drive race cars. But in the meantime, it's more about kind of leveraging connections and, where those unique things do and trying to think about ways to get out and do that. One thing I do want to do again, I did back in college. I took a road trip to Los Angeles from Western Massachusetts. And I loved it. My daughter loves being in the car. Like, she likes riding in the car with me. So our plan is at some point, possibly this summer, to take a road trip together. No plan, just sort of set out on the road and see what's there.
Yeah.
Which I think is always the best way to do a trip. Yeah, I don't like I don't want to go on a trip and be like, all right, so at 6 o'clock we're getting up, and then at 7 o'clock we're going to eat breakfast, and 8 o'clock we're going to the museum until 9:30. We're going out for 40. Or when my wife and I got engaged, that was the trip. Of course, she didn't know we were getting engaged. I did, and I just got a new diesel.
Quality time together is your point.
Yeah.
Quality time.
I had a new car. I got 800 miles to gallon, or not 800 miles a gallon, 800 miles per tank, 45 miles per gallon. And I said, let's go on a road trip. And the plan was go west. We went west out of Connecticut. We got as far as West Virginia, went to Gettysburg, visited a little German restaurant down in.
No plan of where you were going?
We had no plan. It was west.
And you didn't know even where you'd be sleeping?
No.
Okay.
No. Oh, yeah, this was 2013. So, yeah, we had smartphones, and doing that in the 90s was a bit more adventurous. Doing that in 2013, like, you can pull your smartphone out and say, find me a place to sleep. And actually, I remember even, on the road trip in 2001 that I did, we planned out part of it. Interestingly, we actually stayed with friends from the internet, the early internet, that we knew people across the country, and almost every place we stayed was with someone we knew from the internet, except for one place we went to a concert. We didn't have a place to stay. We drove all night to our next destination, and then stayed with people we met at the concert on the way back.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was all about just kind of having a general plan and calculated risk. We have a good, reliable car. We have enough money. We have communications. I'm not hitchhiking across the country, which my grandfather did and wrote a book about.
Wow. Yeah, that's not so safe anymore.
Yeah, he hopped freight trains back in the Depression.
Wow.
He's got some great stories. But it's kind of, I have a car, cell phone, credit cards. We're not just going out and roughing it, but then from there, figure it out. And it's America's a pretty safe place to travel through. So unless you're in the deep desert, there's not too many places where you're really going to get in trouble by winging it.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, I know we don't have much time left. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you've taken calculated risk through your business?
Sure. Well, I mean, other than completely changing everything the last 12 months, hasn't been that much of a risk.
That would be it.
Oh, that would count. Okay, yeah, I guess I've made a couple. Yeah, well, so for one thing, I like to say I'm constitutionally incapable of holding a regular job, like just a paycheck. Like, here is a large sum of money every 2 weeks.
Being self-employed works better for you.
Well, the other one works very poorly. So yes, it does work better. I sales jobs I've done okay with, but in terms of like just a regular corporate salary job, I've never had one of those for more than, I had one for 6 months, and then it wasn't a fit with the company, and I left. But so when the pandemic hit, I went from publishing a magazine for other people, because Best Version Media really runs the magazine. I'm just kind of the local face. When that basically became untenable for the way I was doing business, it was basically networking based and local network based, and that wasn't possible anymore. Stopped making sales and said I better start doing something else. I discovered that coaching, I had a knack for it. I like doing it, and found I was able to get some clients in the process. So I sort of pivoted into that. And my plan was to stay with the magazine a little bit longer. And when I told them I was leaving, they expedited, because you don't want someone who's half in and half out. So it makes sense.
Right. Exactly.
But I left a little earlier than I expected, and that was an uncalculated portion of it. But it worked out, and then of course the conference, and a lot of what's been exciting about that is I'm now free to pursue the opportunities that present. So Conference21 started as a joke with somebody, and then I'm like, wait, no, that could really be a thing. The motivational podcast I do, which is really the thing that's getting the most traction and engagement, is my daily motivational podcast. Started out as a $9 offer, $9, 31 days of December, you get these morning motivation messages. And 10 days in, I said, nobody wants to pay $9 for this. I'm going to make it a podcast, make it free, let people, build an audience that way. And I'm now getting 50, 60, 70 daily downloads on something I started in December, and really haven't promoted beyond.
How are you going to monetize that? or are you?
Well, so that's going to tie into the coaching. I'm actually going to be offering a goal visualization workshop, which I'm doing free on Thursday, but there's a course attached to it.
I saw that advertised.
Yep. Yes. People can buy that. And then of course my coaching. It's basically a way that people can say, hey, I like that Michael Whitehouse guy. Seems to be saying something. I wish he could help me directly. Well, I can. So somebody who it's effectively that free sample. It builds the audience. It builds the engagement. It sets me apart from every other coach because no one else is doing a morning motivation podcast because, again, the reason is to find one to listen to. So I had to make one of my own. But it lets me try things out, pursue them. I'm not bound to anyone else's restriction. And honestly, what makes it calculated instead of just a wild gamble is I do gig work on the side to balance out the money. So if I'm not making as much money as I need to that week, instead of panicking or taking clients who aren't a good fit or, scrambling around, I do DoorDash for a couple days and bring in a few $100 and that pays the bills. And so that really takes the pressure off, which makes me better able to run my business the way it should be run, as opposed to having to chase the dollar today because the mortgage is due tomorrow, which is a much better way of doing a business, I've discovered.
There is a place for everyone, whether it be corporate, whether it be a secretary, a doctor, a janitor, a speaker, a business owner, whatever. And that's what's great about this world. We get to pick and choose where we best fit and where we don't.
Absolutely. And
sometimes it takes us a while to find it, but yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And part of my mission is helping people to find that for themselves. Because the great tragedy of our time is that probably half of Americans are languishing in a hopeless position, thinking there's nothing better for them, and just kind of taking what they're getting and not realizing there's not an easy path. There's no longer the country where you can just go get a job down at the mill, work 35 years and get the gold watch. But there's still paths, and there's still paths that even.
There's another point to that too. When I had my practice, I had about 1,200 clients when I sold it. And I can't imagine, I can't even remember or count how many clients of mine had gone to many, many years of college to be a certain whatever, and then ended up doing something totally different because once they actually got in it, they found they hated it. And they didn't like it and it wasn't for them. But they just finished all their high school, all their college, everything, and they end up doing something else. And I don't think that really matters. If that was the path you had to take to get to the point where you're at, where you want to be, and that got you there, then that got you there. You know, but that's an important thing, and that's kind of what you were just saying too. It's you end up doing something totally different. I mean, I was managing 1,000 apartments all over the state when I stopped that 100% and went self-employed. And who would have thought that it would have worked out as well as it did?
Yeah, as it says in the Desiderata, the universe unfolding exactly the way it should.
Yeah, it may take a while, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In its own time and its own direction. In its own time. Yep. But speaking of its own time, we are coming to the end of ours. But thank you so much for being on the show. And
no problem.
Thank you to Daniel, who I'm sure is watching the recording, right? Hopefully you enjoyed the cheetah photo and everything else. And little did I suspect that the theme of today's show would be death-defying stunts. So, what do Nancy Butler and Daniel Greenwolf have in common? Death-defying stunts.
I guess so.
Yeah. You could do a show together.
Yeah, we could.
That'd be amazing. So
I don't know what magic is.
Well, he'll do the magic, and you can do the.
I will be going to his Renaissance fair, though. I've been wanting to do that for a while.
Yeah, he puts on a great show, definitely.
I will definitely try
that. I think they're looking at doing it this year. So
that'll be great.
They're hoping so. So very good. Well, and of course, all you folks at home, if you want to see Nancy and dozens of other fantastic speakers, you can go to conference21.com to get your tickets. And if you think you should be one of those fantastic speakers, you can also go to conference21.com and click on the application button, speaker button. You'll be able to figure it out when you get there. If you can't figure it out, then you failed the first test. So the first test is go to the website, find the right button, apply, and I'll be in touch. So thank you all for watching, and thank you, Nancy,
Bye,
for doing the show. And see you all next week at same time, except 2 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time next week.
That's right.